Hey everybody, this is Julie Quinn, and I'd like to do a Moving Classes Online First Steps video for you, just to broach the subject of planning for this. It looks like we just got an email that said we need to be ready to do this a week from Monday. So we've got a little bit of time to think about our strategies for moving our classes online, and I wanted to create this video to give you some ideas for how you can do that. So first steps. What you'll want to do for all of your classroom face-to-face, even if you teach a hybrid, what are you doing in the face-to-face right now? This is what you want to think about, and imagine how that content can be delivered in an online space. And there's lots of different ways to do this. I realize in this video, since this video is only going to be a couple minutes and it's brief, that I'm not going to cover every different classroom style of exercise in this video, but all you have to do is reach out to me, or reach out to Bo Yang, or reach out to Brianna as well in Seattle, and we will give you additional support. And don't forget your associate deans too, especially if it's something pedagogical related to your particular field. Some of this that I'm covering may sound like it's a little bit more humanities oriented, but I'm going to try to give some ideas for all types of courses. So if you tend to lecture a lot in that face-to-face space, there are different places for you in Canvas, for example. Studio, which would be asynchronous video recordings. Zoom, which is synchronous opportunities for like online meetings. You could also use Google Hangouts as well. And then you have an asynchronous option through your announcements, where you could do like a guiding for the week. This is how I want you to approach a module, right? If you teach a lot of workshops, so I know a lot of the writing professors who teach 111 and 112, for example, do a lot of draft workshopping in the classroom space. If you're a speech professor, for example, you could use discussions, assignments, and groups to bundle students together. One other thing that I wanted to add was peer review. And it's in discussions and assignments. So you could bundle your students. This is a really good opportunity for assessment. When you're in a workshop space in your classroom, you tend to want to hear students working on each other's work, or students working together in small groups, where we can say workshop, group assignment type of activities. So discussions are perfect for that. Within the assignments feature, if you set the assignments feature up with peer review, then your students can engage with one another, and you can see the results of that engagement by going into SpeedGrader and seeing the notes the students have left on each other's assignments. So we can set up sort of facsimile of workshopping through a discussion that's public. Everybody can see everybody else's content. Through an assignment where you can just assign a couple of students in small groups to give each other peer review. You can have an entire group space, and so on and so forth. So these are all of the different options that you've got available in Canvas. Now, labs. If you're teaching a chemistry lab, you're teaching an anatomy phys or biology, some of this may seem like it's a little bit more difficult. However, using discussions can work. Using Studio can absolutely work too, so you can kind of bundle them together. So for example, if you're doing anatomy and physiology assignment, and students can bring up an image of the lymphatic system, and they can then create their own Studio video that they can embed in a discussion where they show how they're labeling, and they're just doing like sort of screen capture, just like the video that I'm doing right now with screen capture. So students can use the technology exactly the way I'm using this technology, and they can upload many videos, 2, 3, 4 minutes, in discussions, in assignments. It just depends on how you set up those tools. And then Zoom, where you can have the live issues, or not the live issues, the live accessibility for students to ask you questions in real time. And then of course groups as well. So things to consider. So all of this is available. All we have to do is think about what is that assignment that you've got, and then we work backwards to use a tool around it. We want to make sure we're using appropriate tools for the situation and not just forcing everything into a discussion or forcing everything into Canvas. It may mean that maybe we move into mini conferences for students where you do one-on-one phone calls with certain classes one week and with other classes other weeks. Let's see, if we had to do conferences, become phone calls. There are all of these options available, and I know in the emails you saw from Sherry Robertson, Dr. Hill, be flexible. So I'm just making one final note that flexibility with students is key in this list here. So you can also use tools like Assignments in Studio to stay in contact with your students asynchronously. You could build a mini lecture for one of your 111 shells that then you share with all of them, or for your Accounting 211 that you push into 3 different shells. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can be efficient in our design, and then we can roll content into multiple classes at the same time. I think that will save you stress and energy, and you can open up your office hours to all classes at the same time. So if you're going to be working from home, for example, you could do office hours Tuesdays and Thursdays. You can change your office hours from the current ones. If you're going to be mostly at home, maybe you offer your students some evening office hours. Maybe you didn't do that normally, but flexibility is the key. We don't know about our students' accessibility. I would not recommend requiring students, so don't require students to sign in for an online session, like synchronous session. We may have really good internet access, but some of your students may have signed up for a face-to-face class, but they were printing up everything at their workplace or even on campus. And if campus does close, for example, we want to build in additional flexibility that may be in due dates, that may be in online activity, etc. We're going to have to be more flexible than we ever have been before. So if you give your students an extra 48 hours to do X, Y, and Z, one of the other things you can do is maybe run a, send out an email with like a survey asking your students anonymously about their accessibility issues, or letting them know that if they have accessibility concerns that they need to reach out to you. And this is something we can do in this next week. So if you are designing a particular class, but you have a couple of students that can't access the content, then this week is a really good opportunity for them to print out content. You can print out and give it to them in a batch, or give them hyperlinks in an email that if you have YouTube videos and things like that, that they can watch that on their phone at the very least. Maybe they're using data, but give them options for smaller videos that they can watch versus the 15-minute ones. Find ones that are 5 or 6. It's a band-aid. It's a stopgap. But we're trying to not cost our students any more money. We're trying to really help them get the content, and then find a way to work with them. And maybe that is by doing phone conferences with those students, because I mean our job is really to do the best that we can by them. And so if we do that, one other thing is ask them to download Canvas for students. You can even put it in a hyperlink in Canvas. They'll get it via email. I think this is a wonderful tool. You can use Canvas for Teacher. I have a ton of videos in the bottom, so check out my growing video playlist. The final thing that I ask you guys to do in this video is to check out my growing video playlist in my email signature. I've got videos on Studio. I've got videos on peer review, assignments. Oh, I can't even spell assignments. I've got videos on discussions. I have videos on discussions. I have videos on announcements. I have videos on quizzes. That's something that I haven't really talked about. Different types of assessment. If you were wanting to do I'll add it over here. Quizzes for, if you want to do quizzes and tests, I have videos on Turnitin if you're having them submit assignment. Bo Yang and I want to be your go-to, and Brianna Bergtar as well. We want to be the go-to resources for you right now for the Woodbridge campus. So don't forget to reach out to us. Use this as a resource. I'm going to, for the foreseeable future, be offering virtual, let's see, resources for faculty and staff. So during the weekday, we're going to be available on weekends. I'm going to be offering on Saturdays virtual training or virtual support. Usually it's, going to be around 9 to noon on Saturday mornings, most Saturdays. Otherwise, I'll be available via email. So you send me an email. I mean, if it's 3 in the morning, I probably won't answer it. But if you do send me an email and you have a quick question, I will do my darndest to help you out, especially as you're getting everything organized and set up. One of the things that I did not mention here is that reach out to support staff and your associate deans. It may be that you're teaching a really interesting, complex, studio-oriented course, and you're trying to figure out how to get supplies to your students or how to mimic what you would do in the workshop, the lab, studio space. This is the perfect opportunity for you to work with your associate deans to sort of brainstorm that. Once you have an idea of what you want to deliver, talking to Bo, Brianna, and myself would be the perfect option to move it to that next step. Okay, check out those very specific how-to videos for studio, for discussions, for peer review, and don't be strangers. I look forward to working with you all over the next couple weeks.